सेक्रेटरी, डिपार्टमेंट ऑफ पोस्ट ऑफिसर्स एंड सभी प्रेस के मित्र, आज हम लोग सरकार के और हमारे डायनेमिक पेयर ऑफ मिनिस्टर्स का एक वर्ष की उपलब्धियों के बारे में जानने के लिए एकत्रित हुए हैं। हमारे प्रधानमंत्री जी ने इस सरकार में आने के बाद हम लोग को चैलेंजेस आइडेंटिफाई करने को हमेशा उत्साहित किया और हर चैलेंज को एक अपॉर्चुनिटी बनाकर उसको एक उपलब्धि के रूप में देश के सिटीजन्स को देना है। उसके लिए कोई भी रास्ते में रुकावट नहीं होगी, ऐसा हम लोग को टारगेट दिया। हमारे मंत्री जी, मिनिस्टर ऑफ स्टेट और हमारी पूरी टीम ने लास्ट एक साल में कई चीज़ों पर काम किया है, जिसके बारे में माननीय मंत्री जी अभी आप लोगों को बताएंगे। बट एकदम सूक्ष्म में अगर बोला जाए तो हमारे 4 पिलर्स जो DoT के हैं, समावेशित, सबको मिलाकर, सबके लिए सबका विकास, त्वरित, ईज ऑफ डूइंग बिजनेस, ईज ऑफ लिविंग फॉर सिटीजन्स, सुरक्षित ताकि सारे सिटीजन्स एक सुरक्षित डिजिटल इकोसिस्टम में अपना काम कर सकें, और विकसित, जो डेवलपमेंट के फ्रूट्स हैं वो सभी को पहुँचें। इन सभी 4 स्तंभों में हम लोग की क्या क्या उपलब्धि रही है, ये मैं माननीय मंत्री जी से आग्रह करूंगा वो हम लोग को इस बारे में।
बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। जैसे मैंने पूर्व में भी कहा कि एक साल की अवधि में जो दूरसंचार विभाग ने, हम सब ने मिलकर प्रधानमंत्री जी की जो निर्देश और उनका लक्ष्य है उसकी पूर्ति करने के लिए मिलकर हम लोग ने कार्य किया है। और ये एक होल ऑफ डिपार्टमेंट की तत्परता और परिश्रम का ही फल है। और आज आपके समक्ष इन मुद्दों को प्रेषित करते हुए मैं बहुत गर्व महसूस कर रहा हूँ। पहला मुद्दा है भारत की लीडरशिप ग्लोबल टेलीकॉम में। With the length and the breadth and the depth of India's telecom network being established by the Prime Minister in the last 11 years, India is no longer a follower in telecom. India has now become a leader in telecom, both in terms of services and it pleases me to know and to inform you, also in terms of products. We have 1.2 crore customers across this country. We have laid OFC fiber 4x from 11 lakh kilometers, route kilometers, to almost 40 lakh route kilometers. Our internet connections have grown from 250 million to 970 million. Our broadband connections have grown from 65 million to 940 million. So when we talk about scale, there is no rival to India in terms of exponential scale. If you were to classify India as a digital nation, purely if you were to classify all the nations in the world in terms of being digital nations, India would be the 3rd largest digital nation in the world today. So the Prime Minister's foresight 11 years ago of creating an invisible digital highway, and on that digital highway creating the capability of multiple applications to reside and write today has become a reality. Which is why you see something like DigiPin coming to fruition. Which is why you see the DPI infrastructure, UPI, with close to 20 crore transactions per month, 260 crore transactions per year, worth $4 trillion. Which is why you see 46% of the world's digital transactions today happening in India. So with that backdrop, I want to present to you the Department of Telecommunications in the last 365 days. The Prime Minister has always urged us that India must become the center of international activity. We must think vocal to local, but also think local to global. And this slide tells you exactly that story. For the first time in the history of the ITU, International Telecommunications Union, and the WTSA, a summit was organized in Asia Pac. And the first time a summit was organized in Asia Pac, it was organized in India, Bharat Mandapam. Last year in October, Prime Minister graced the occasion, inaugurated the ITU WTSA session. We had almost 4,000 delegates across 160 countries. We've secured the maximum leadership roles. We've gone from 7 to 11 within the ITU. We also had the India Mobile Congress in conjunction with the WTSA in the same period. And also we have set up the India Mobile Congress for this year, which was moved to Yashobhumi because of the scale increasing. And we had almost about 2 lakh attendees, 1,000 startups, 1,600 exhibitors, 7,000 delegates. And if I may say so, the whole world of the telecom industry was in India for the IMC. We're now planning to take it to a higher level, and we're working at that for next year. Next slide. So what have we done in terms of reforms to really springboard this sector? First, to improve the proliferation and penetration of Wi-Fi, we have de-licensed the lower 6 gigahertz to give ultra-low latency, higher speeds, low-cost digital access. The Prime Minister has also always laid a lot of stress on refarming. When I was in civil aviation, the refarming of airspace and 121 CDRs, conditional direct routes, were freed up from defense under the FUA, flexible use airspace paradigm. And the Prime Minister has led from the front with telecom as well, where we have done spectrum refarming of close to about 687 megahertz of spectrum from defense and other sectors given to IMT, which is the telecom sector, under the refarming umbrella. The COS, Committee on Secretaries, is now looking at spectrum refarming 2.0. We require a total of 2,000 megahertz by 2030. We already have 900 megahertz. Add to that 687, so we have close to 1587 megahertz already underneath our belt. We need another additional 432 by 2030, and the cost under Secretary Saab is going to look at refarming that additional 432 megahertz of spectrum. We're also looking on reforms on PM Wani, which is resulted in close to a 34% increase in hotspots across the country. And as you all know, we've started a new frontier on SATCOM, where 2 licenses have been given out already to Jio and to OneWeb. and LOI has been granted to Starlink. We are now working on getting the price of spectrum finalized, which TRAI will do, and then we're all systems go in terms of executing SATCOM across the country. This we've already shared with you. It's a great moment of pride that we have entered the League of Four Nations across the world that have their own IP as far as equipment is concerned. South Korea, China, Finland, and Sweden. And India is the fifth entrant. There are only 4 countries in the world that manufacture 3G, 4G, 5G, and now in the future 6G equipment. And India has entered that prestigious club, all because of Prime Minister's foresight. As I mentioned in our earlier press conference, you have CDOT along with Tejas, CDOT doing the core, Tejas doing the RAN. CDOT is also doing some manufacturing of RAN now. TCS is this SI. It's the full integrated Atmanirbhar solution, which is rolled out across 1 lakh towers, inaugurated by Prime Minister on the 27th of September. It is nationwide. Once that system is perfected, we're also hopefully adding more towers onto that. Then we shall quickly switch to 5G. And in the meantime, Bharat 6G Alliance is also working to prepare itself for 6G, where India will lead the world by contributing 10% of patents. Next. So this, I wanted to share with you the status with regard to 100% saturation. So we've talked about 100% saturation in telecom across 4G. So we've got 6 schemes in place. I want to share with you the details of the progress. We had out of 17,228 towers under 4G saturation, only 612 towers up in June 24. Till date, we have completed 75% of the task. We have now almost 13,000 towers up. So we've added another 12,000 towers, gone from 4% to 75% execution in 1 year. Similar is the case with the aspirational district scheme, 502 aspirational, where we've gone from 48 to 81% saturation and 74 to 96% saturation. And LWE phase 1 and phase 2, where we went from 0 to 57%, 1,200 towers out of 2,300 towers. And phase 2, 977 to 1157. For the islands, also we've gone from 38% execution to 84%, 105 towers out of 125. So as you can see, we've covered a lot of ground. We have a little more to cover, which we shall do in this year. Now, this talks about the dashboard that we set up for the 100% saturation of towers. There are multiple right-of-way issues that come up. And so we decided to compose a dashboard of all those issues. There are 6 issues in particular: land, forest, access, backhaul, ROW, and security in terms of setting up a tower. And those 6 issues mainly comprised of 2241 sites, which had a total of 2,415 issues, which you can see in the bottom table. We categorized by issue. So revenue, there were 290 issues. Forest, there are 708 issues. Security, 135. Local land dispute, 193. Accessibility, 620. Forest ROW, 275. Alternate land required, 38. Other issues, 27. BharatNet Media state-led, 86. Dependent on state issues, 43, totaling 2415. We categorize them into states as the next step, and then we categorize them into districts. So that's the granularity with which DoT is working. And I'm glad to report to you today that if you look at the right-hand side of the bottom box, out of 241 issues, we set up this dashboard in February of 25. Because we were getting very frustrated because there was not enough progress happening. So we decided to look at this from a bottom-up perspective as opposed to a top-down perspective. And I'm very glad to report to you, and I must congratulate the team that has worked on this under the leadership of the Secretary. Out of 2415 issues, and I review this on the dashboard every single day, every single week on a Monday. And out of 2415 issues from February till today, which is about 7 months, seven months, we have completed 1,882 issues. So almost 86% of the pain points have been resolved. And I must congratulate the team at DoT and all the state governments, because all the state governments have also come forward to try and resolve this. And so we have a pendency of where that arrow is of only 533 issues, which we are working with every state government. Next slide. So here you see another granularity of that dashboard. We identified that 18 districts of 9 states have a combination of 250 issues pending out of this 533 that are pending as on date, and 420 surveys pending. So we need to concentrate on these 18 districts in these 9 states. And we are working with all the state governments to make sure that we are able to get over this balance 533 issues which are pending out of the 2415. So this is just a vignette to show you all that this is the way the department is working on a very granular basis with regard to issues. Now, as far as portal is concerned, we've set up the right-of-way portal, single window clearance, and we've reduced the time period of clearance of applications down to 15 days, as opposed to it being almost about 3 to 4 months in the earlier period. We've also mapped all our assets, like in the postal department, on the National Gati Shakti Master Plan, all your 13.5 lakh route kilometers of OFC, your 8 lakh mobile towers, your 3.5 lakh PM Wani hotspots, all critical assets have been mapped onto Gati Shakti. We've also set up a CBUD, call before you dig portal, where we coordinate with all other line departments, PWD, water, sewage, drainage, in terms of digging up roads to be able to set up the wires for telecom, so that it's a combined effort. Next. The BSNL turnaround story. Now, this is the highlight of also what we've been able to do along with the Navachar, the innovation of the 4G stack. BSNL, which last made profits in 2008 on a quarterly basis, that is 17 years ago, has turned around the corner. We made a profit in Q3 of FY 24-25 of 262 crores and Q4 of FY 24-25 of 280 crores. Our EBITDA for the year has gone from close to 1,271 crores, 2,164 crores to 5,395 crores. So there's been a 3x jump in cash flow, your operating profit for the full financial year. And the loss, which was last year 5,500 crores, has now come down to 2,400 crores. Mind you that this loss figure is also because of the depreciation cover, which will only increase now, because BSNL in its 25 years of existence has had the largest capex in its history last year of close to about 25,000 crores. So if you take an SLM, straight line method, 10% depreciation rate, to make it simple, you're talking about a 2,500 crore hit, non-cash hit to the bottom line. So you have to look at BSNL's results going forward on a EBITDA and operating profit basis and not on a PAT basis, because of this non-cash hit of 2,500 crores. But nevertheless, we made a lot of progress, and as you know, 97,000 towers were inaugurated by Prime Minister, which is what we've completed within 1 year. So when we started last year in the 4G stack project, we had 16,000 towers, which today has grown to 97,000. So 80,000 towers we have laid in the last 12 months. It's a remarkable feat, and I'd like to congratulate every employee of this whole group, from CDOT to Tejas to TCS to BSNL, for doing an amazing job. Next. 5G labs. So as you know, the 5G use case labs have been set up. all installed and commissioned by March of this year. We have 3,000 students that are working at this. Faculties, we have 512 faculties working on it, and we are now going to start grading what these 5G use case labs are doing. And that is the grading pattern that we have evolved. If you're above 130 points, you're excellent. If you're above 100, you're very good. If you're above 80, you're satisfactory. And the first round will be ready, I think, by December of this grading, which we will bring to you as well. This covers two very important issues. One is citizen security in terms of all the spoof calls and all of that. That's technology brings the many advantages. It also brings the capability for people to misuse technology. And it's our job as watchdogs to make sure that we are the gatekeepers to obviate and stop the penetration or negative elements into our technology curve. The figures are there for you all to see, but just to give you a flavor, Sanchar Sati portal has 20 crore hits. Our spoof calls prevention system reduced 1.35 crore calls per day coming internationally into India. And now that the spoofers recognize that we've got a firewall in place, that number has now dropped by almost 97% on a daily basis. Our AI tool Astra has disconnected 82 lakh mobile connections that were spurious. Our financial fraud risk indicator, which has been innovated by DoT, has been a runaway success. I'm pleased to report to you that RBI has mandated all banks to use DoT's FFRI, and we have saved almost. Oh, Secretary tells me that Google has also joined, which is a huge fillip, and we've put 3.5 lakh mobiles on restrictions because of the capability of doing fraud from those mobile numbers. 10 lakh accounts have been frozen. And altogether, we've already saved almost about 200 crores of people's money. The DIP platform is an institutional network that has been set up where 750 agencies, government and non-governmental, are part of sharing of digital intelligence, right from the Home Ministry to all 36 state governments and UTs to almost 500 banks and institutions. They're all part of the digital intelligence platform. On the right-hand side of the slide, you see what we're doing to make what is already world-class service in India even better. So TRAI and DoT together are moving the goalpost in terms of ensuring better connectivity for all our customers. उपभोक्ता हमारी पहचान है, उपभोक्ता हमारी निशान है और उपभोक्ता हमारे प्राथमिकता है और उपभोक्ताओं को अच्छा सर्विस मिले, ये हमारा धर्म बनता है. So we have done a number of steps, which I don't want to get into details because these are technical issues which I can share with you. But to give you a gist, we basically first told all telcos that you need to map all your towers on your websites. Every customer should know where your tower is and where they're radiating from. Second, in terms of your signal capability, we wanted them to move from measurement on a tower basis to measurement on a cell basis. So everything becomes much more granular. Third, we've introduced new paradigms into measurement of QoS, quality of service, like jitter packets, drop rates, which were not introduced before. And fourth, and most importantly, as you can see, a vignette we've given you, 4 parameters. The benchmarks, how we moved from 1st of October. The reporting also used to be by telcos on a quarterly basis. That reporting has been moved by TRAI to a monthly basis. And these 4 parameters, you have seen how it's moved. The cumulative downtime, which was less than 2%, our target is to reach 1%, less than 1% benchmark by October. Drop call rate in terms of your CDRs has to be less than 2%. Your uplink and downlink packet drop rate also less than 2%. And your latency, which was less than 250 milliseconds, has been decreased to less than 75 milliseconds, which means it's been improved almost 3x. and our target is to reach less than 50 milliseconds by April 26. Next slide. As you're aware, we've set up a stakeholder advisory committee like I had in civil aviation and steel, in telecom as well. There are 5 groups that we've set up, one for ISPs, the other for SATCOM, third for TSPs, fourth for OEMs, and fifth for R&D. We've had 27 meetings, as you can see, in the last 1 year. Each committee, I've given you the breakup of meetings. Total 37 agenda points were defined in those meetings with the members of the advisory group. We have already resolved 12 of those issues satisfactorily. 25 are pending, which we are still working on with our advisory groups. Our job, as Prime Minister has always said, is to be a facilitator, is to be as responsible to our stakeholders as they are to their consumers. And therefore, when we go into every advisory group meeting, MOS and I and Secretary carry with us an ATR, an action taken report. So as opposed to reporting to the minister, the ministry reports to the stakeholder advisory group, so as to be accountable in terms of what we've been able to achieve from the last meeting. Next. Finally, this talks about the way we are going forward with BSNL. MOS and I are looking at BSNL in great granularity. Each one of our business verticals are being examined. We have each one of our chief general managers, a total of 23 of them, I believe, setting targets for themselves. We have changed the paradigm. Earlier, the paradigm used to be that headquarters would set targets. Both MOS and I and Secretary have very clearly mentioned to each one of our CGMs that they are not CGMs, they are CEOs, because they run their own individual business. And so they should set their targets. And the targets will be varied across different circles. So each CGM has set their target for the quarter. MOS is reviewing the progress on a monthly basis. I am reviewing the progress on a quarterly basis. The next review, I believe, comes up in end of October for the last quarter. We are also using this forum. This is the first time that any department has had a 9 to 9 meeting with CGMs. Started at 9 a.m., we finished at 9 at night. And we did the same with the Department of Posts, if I may add, 32 CPMGs, Chief Postmaster Generals. What we're doing here through this forum is not only setting targets and looking at progress, but also exchange of best practices between circles, identifying pain points and looking at resolution, and really building a congenial family atmosphere within the organization as well. So with that, I conclude. Thank you very much. And if you have any questions for myself or for MOS or for Secretary, we're available to you all.
Thank you, sir. So we'll start from 142.
नमस्कार सर, मेरा नाम अनुवेश रथ है, मैं जी बिजनेस से हूँ। सर मेरे 2 सवाल हैं। पहला सवाल, ट्राई ने एक कोशिश शुरू की थी जो हर लोकेशन पे वहाँ पे जो कम्युनिकेशन है उस लोकेशन पे कम्युनिकेशन किस तरीके का है, यानी कि बैंडविड्थ कितना आ रहा है, डिजिटल आपका लैंडलाइन किस तरीके का है। और दूसरा सवाल सर, वोडाफोन आइडिया मामले पे हमने लगातार देखा है एजी ने समय मांगा है सुप्रीम कोर्ट से, समय अभी 27 अक्टूबर का दूसरा आ रहा है, तो किस तरीके से वोडाफोन आइडिया मैटर को आप देखते हैं। 2 सवाल।
तो आपका पहला सवाल का उत्तर ऑलरेडी मैंने अपने प्रेजेंटेशन में दे दिया कि किस बारीकी से TRAI और DoT हर एक सर्विस प्रोवाइडर की कस्टमर ओरिएंटेशन को देख रही है टेक्नोलॉजी पर्सपेक्टिव से। हमारे क्या मापदंड हैं, उस मापदंड पर आपकी क्या परफॉर्मेंस रही है, और आपकी परफॉर्मेंस राष्ट्र मानचित्र पर नहीं देखी जा रही, आपकी परफॉर्मेंस हर सर्कल द्वारा देखी जा रही है। उदाहरण के तौर पर BSNL का सर्विस 3 सर्कल में बहुत अच्छा हो सकता है, 15 सर्कल में मध्यम हो सकता है, 2 सर्कल में बुरा हो सकता है। जियो का 1 सर्कल में अच्छा हो सकता है, 1 सर्कल में मध्यम हो सकता है, 1 सर्कल में ठीक नहीं। सर्कल लेवल पर हम लोग इन सब पैरामीटर्स को हम लोग देखते हैं। हाँ, तो सेक्रेटरी साहब कह रहे हैं नॉट ओनली टावर लेवल बट वी आर नाउ ट्राइंग टू मेजर एट सेल लेवल आल्सो। So we are going very granular. And mind you, let me say this, that ये अतिशयोक्ति नहीं होगी अगर मैं कहूं कि भारत की टेलीकॉम सर्विस आज विश्व में सबसे टॉप 1 या 2 या 3 देशों में, और उसे और बेहतर बनाने की हमारी कोशिश। जहां तक आपका प्रश्न वोडाफोन का रहा, ये कोर्ट का मामला है, हमारा मामला है।
76।
हेलो सर, असीम मनचंदा हूँ CNBC आवाज से। 2 छोटे छोटे सवाल है। एक पहला कि 6 GHz को लेकर के आपने कहा कि डी लाइसेंसिंग कर रहे हैं, पहले आपने डेडलाइन दी थी कि 15 अगस्त तक डी लाइसेंस हो जाएगा, तो अब क्या स्टेटस है, कब तक हम उसको डी लाइसेंस होता देख सकते हैं? और दूसरा क्वालिटी ऑफ सर्विसेज से जुड़ा हुआ सवाल है, सेल लेवल मॉनिटरिंग या फिर स्टेट लेवल मॉनिटरिंग या डिस्ट्रिक्ट लेवल मॉनिटरिंग ट्राई ने रिकमेंड किया हुआ है, वो रिकमेंडेशंस कब तक हम इम्प्लीमेंट होते हुए देख सकते हैं?
आपका दूसरा प्रश्न का उत्तर दे दिया ना।
नहीं, वो रिकमेंडेशन आई हुई है,
रिकमेंडेशन नहीं इंप्लीमेंट हो गई है
ऑलरेडी नहीं हुई सर। आज सेक्रेटरी साहब क्लियर कर दिया
नहीं।
सर, सेल लेवल एंड डिस्ट्रिक्ट स्टेट लेवल।
नहीं, मैं स्पष्ट कर दूं। आज क्या तारीख? 17। अब हम लोग उस अवधि से आगे निकल गए, लेकिन 1 अक्टूबर के पहले जो पहले से चल रहे आ रहे थे वही चल रहा था। 1 अक्टूबर, और ये हमने 4 महीने पहले अनाउंस कर दिया था कि 1 अक्टूबर से ये पैरामीटर्स हम लोग चेंज कर रहे हैं आपकी मॉनिटरिंग की। 1 अक्टूबर को पहला रिपोर्ट उन्होंने दिया है सारे 4 TSPs ने कि ये हमारी स्थिति है। अब वो TRAI मॉनिटर भी कर रहा है, स्टडी भी कर रहा है और आइडेंटिफाई कर रहा है कि आप ग्रीन कहाँ हो, आप येलो कहाँ हो और आप रेड कहाँ हो। और फिर उनसे हमने पाथ भी मांगा है कि जहां आप येलो और रेड हो, दुरुस्त कब तक कर पाओगे, या क्या कारण है कि आप येलो या रेड हो। मैंने कल ही प्रेजेंटेशन इसका लिया था, ये भी मैं आपको सूचित कर दूं। उदाहरण का आपको दूं, कई जगह रेड हैं क्योंकि जैसे कि अभी हिमाचल और उत्तराखंड में बाढ़ आई तो पूरा टेलीकॉम इक्विपमेंट नाश हो गया, तो उन राज्यों में टेम्पररी रेड आया है, पर जहाँ परमानेंट से रेड है उसका भी हम लोग समाधान निकाल रहे हैं। दूसरा प्रश्न क्या है? 6G का, 6 GHz का।
The upper one we will have to arrive at a consensus because there are many users of that. So we will, once consensus arrives, only I can't give you a timeline for that.
So there are multiple users of that, and those users are as important as telecom. So therefore you have to discuss and come to a solution on that. So it's not as easy as a vacant spectrum.
9 number, yes.
So GSMA had presumed from PTI. GSMA has recently come up with a report which said that 47% Indians are still unconnected, and they have said that the number that we see is because of multiple SIM users, multi-device users. But those who are unconnected are because of they cannot afford the device cost and there needs some.
So let me just correct that. That number is got to do with a smartphone, not unconnected. Unconnected by smartphone. So in India we have close to about 1 billion users out of 1.2 billion subscribers. So penetration is extremely high. But yes, smartphone penetration is not that high, and that's because of the cost of the device. Which is why there are a lot of manufacturers today coming up with, and I don't want to divulge, but there are a lot of manufacturers coming up with cheaper smartphones. And when you get cheaper smartphones, then the penetration of smartphones will also increase. Am I correct?
39.
Hi, very good afternoon, sir. Ashmit from CNBC TV 18. A couple of questions, sir. One on post office. You mentioned that there'll be a last mile delivery that you're looking at, especially for e-commerce platforms. Just a little more clarity on that, sir. Is that particularly for sellers? What kind of arrangement, if any, will there be between the post office as well as the likes of Amazon, Flipkart?
So I wanna thank you for your question, and I'm glad that someone asked about post, because let me tell you, it is a department that's connected to our lives, and it will be continue to be connected, and in the new avatar that it's also taking. The Department of Post will and has to transform itself into a logistics corporation. The raison d'etre for that is twofold. One, the nature of the department. There is no other department that has the network that the postal department has. Second, the way the world is going. Today, if you look at mail and international mail, that is on the decline. It is parcels and logistics that is going to increase. And if you look at where India stands within that universe, today your logistic delivery business still, mota, I'm talking about big picture, is still getting concentrated. Tier 1, I would say maximum sprinkling of tier 2. But in the future, that consumption power is going to go all the way down to tier 3. And let me ask you, who's there in terms of a fulfillment logistics provider in tier 3, tier 4 apart from India Post? So we have to reposition ourselves. And that's what we're doing. So this team that has gone abroad and spent a lot of time abroad and come back with very valuable learnings. And the business process restructuring exercise that we're going through. We're going to convert a lot of our hubs, a lot of our delivery centers. We're going to convert a lot of manual and physical into automated. We're going to bring in technology like RFID codes, laser technology, scanners. All of that is in the making. And we're putting together a proposal today as we speak to be able to effect that transformation over the next 4 to 5 years. If you want specific details, I'm more than happy to provide that to you separately. But that transformation is underway, and you will see a vignette of that with the new offering slide that I showed you over here, where on mail and on parcels, we're looking at new offerings. Those new offerings are only going to be possible if the underlying infrastructure and value chain is transformed. If you don't transform that, you can't give this offering. So what I've presented you is the result. But there's a process behind that result, which is what the department is working at as we speak.
Just a couple more questions. Again, one on post office, which is respect to the post office savings bank. You mentioned the post office has very wide reach. Due to that reach itself, is there now an understanding within the department that is there a need felt for RBI oversight as far as the post office savings bank is concerned?
We are going to do business as usual. We today under POSB have 36 crore accounts. We have 21 lakh crores in terms of our deposits. And that business is going to continue. Having said that, on your last question of what is the value that we add to an Amazon or any other company, we are the logistics delivery platform. And we are not the logistics delivery platform for only an end-to-end provider like Amazon. But we hope to become the logistics delivery platform for also the mid-mile providers. Because there's only a certain section that the mid-mile providers can also effectively do. The last mile can only be done by us because we have the reach, right? And so there has to be a value proposition where the India Post also gets a margin on the transaction that it does. And that's the huge change that we have effected in the last year within the department. Every transaction should have a measurable cost. Every transaction should have a measurable margin to the department. If you want to transition from being a cost center, whose costs today are close to 38,000 crores, whose revenue today is 12,000 crores, and you have a big deficit to fill of 26,000 crores, and if without pensions, that deficit today is roughly about 9,000 crores, and you want to go from a cost center to becoming a profit center, then you have to be able to analyze your cost structure across every transaction, whether it's parcel, whether it is mail, whether it's passport, whether it is Aadhaar, whether it is mutual fund, and make sure that you get a margin whether you're doing a B2B transaction, whether you're doing a B2C transaction, and if I may add, whether you're doing a G2G transaction as well. So, Postal Department is doing a transaction for any other arm for Government of India as well. There has to be a margin that is embedded into that for the Department of Post.
Just one final question, sir.
Okay,
This-
no, I can't ask
just
many more questions.
22. One question per person because others have chance now.
Yeah.
So, I'm Ashish from Business Standard. Another question on Department of Post. You said that
Thank you, Ashish. I'm enjoying this today.
You said that there will be 8 new products that will be launched, 5 in January and 3 in March. I just wanted to understand that have we decided on the nature of products that will be delivered, let's say by a 24-hour or a 48-hour parcel, or
Yeah,
the last mile
Speed
delivery?
Post, no?
No, so does Speed Post
So-
involve only documents, etc.
Yes,
of those kinds?
yes.
Or are we also, because let's say if
No,
you're
no.
going
So
for a-
Speed Post has a very clear categorization of size and weight. It is within that. In your parcel category, each product has a categorization of up to this size, up to this weight. Dimensions are all there. So it'll be very clear to the consumer as to where I fit in. Not only that, Ashish, but thank you for your question because I'm going to use it as a segue. Even our branding and packaging is changing. So when you go now, if I have, let's say, this glass that I want to send, there will be a certain size of packet that will be available to me in the post office. And I will just take my glass, pack it in the post office, seal it there with the stuff that's available there and deposit it. Or I'm also changing the system. And I'm maybe Harpreet and Basmati are speaking a little too soon. But we are also going to take our post boxes and put a QR code on our post boxes. And I can go and deliver something inside my. So, how many post boxes do we have across the country? 4 lakh post office, right? So, I'll be able to use my IT 2.0 app done by CEPT, Atmanirbhar, okay, and go and zap a QR code and input into the software that I've deposited into the post box, this little glass in your post office package. And it will be all monitored, tagged, RFID coded, everything over there. Customer has a seamless experience. So we are going the whole hog. This is only the beginning of the journey. We hope to continually, positively surprise you and our customers.
24. That side.
Hi, sir. Ojasvi from Financial
Where are you?
Express. Yeah.
Can you introduce yourself again?
Ojasvi Gupta from Financial Express. So like you mentioned that 100% saturation is going to be one important component that the government is going to look after. So I'm sure satellite connectivity is something that we look as a very crucial thing for that. But then economic viability in the rural areas is going to be a problem. I mean, it's going to be like a point of contention. So would the government be open to using the the DNB funds for that, Bharat Nidhi Fund, Digital Bharat Nidhi Fund, for providing satellite connectivity in the rural areas as per the TRI's recommendation?
So, I mean, I stand to be corrected, but the way I understand it, that erstwhile USOF and DBN is not for, it's not only that, but it's for capital expenditure. It is not for subsidizing a service. Am I correct? So you cannot, so if I am taking a service from Chandrasekhar Premasani ji, and the cost of that service, that DBN cannot subsidize. TBN can only subsidize the tower that is being put up. So there has to be a capital structure that is being put up that TBN can subsidize. So you cannot subsidize the variable cost of a service.
Maybe the terminal setup then. I think that's what the TRAI had recommended.
Okay. Last question is 243. 243. You 249. Yes. 249.
Sir, my name is Rakesh Kumar. I'm from the New Indian Express. Sir, BSNL made a turnaround, added good customers in August. So just want to know this momentum is going to continue in the next few months since 4G is already there, or any timeline that BSNL is going to launch? Any timeline the BSNL is going to launch 5G?
Okay, so you've got two questions embedded inside one question. One is, what is the long-term glide path for BSNL? The long-term glide path for BSNL is that it must continually churn out healthy free cash flows. I am not very concerned, having been a former investment banker myself, I'm not concerned about PAT, because PAT has embedded in it, as I mentioned, in this case, a very high non-cash charge, which will be on an SLM basis, as I mentioned, 2,500 crores per year because of the 25,000 crore lumpy capex that happened last year. I'm more concerned about my EBITDA, my operating margin. And the fact that BSNL has grown from 2,300 crores to 5,400 crores odd in terms of its operating margin is a very, very comforting and a very confidence-building number. We hope that BSNL continues down that path, and that is the responsibility and charge of the BSNL family, chaired by the CMD. We, people seated on the dais, will do whatever we can to assist BSNL walking down that journey. But I'm very confident that you will see a resurgent BSNL. Just to give you a vignette, we are at 8.5 crore subscribers June 24. We are at 9.1 crore subscribers today. Last month, we added 13 lakh subscribers to BSNL. So I think that there is a level of confidence that's growing. However, having said that, there is still a long way to go. We've got to put in place CRM solutions. We've got to make sure customer sat numbers increase. We've got to make sure that we move from 4G to 5G, which will happen once the 4G network is perfected, which will still take a couple of months. So I do not want to add complexity onto the equation until I've perfected what is already there. And once that is there, we'll move to 5G. But let me guarantee you, it's going to happen soon. When that is, that particular month, we will inform you when that happens. Thank you very much. Thank you.
थैंक यू, थैंक यू। आप लोगों के लिए मध्याह्न भोजन की व्यवस्था 4th फ्लोर पर है, कृपया ग्रहण करेंगे।
Your email is your